Finally, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We've had a few technical challenges and feel now we're ready to land a man on the moon. We're going to compete with SpaceX. Our IT team has sorted all the issues and we're coming at you live now. I want to thank you all for your time, and the approaching seasons are a good time for us to all be thoughtful and grateful for the things that we've got going on in our life. And your presence here today is one of those things for me. And I think about the many great things in my life, from loving family and great friends and amazing experiences, and also just the many communities and individuals that have supported us over the many years, decades now, as you know, 20 years for GUE. And so we are grateful for you and hope that wherever you are in the world, however you are celebrating, and whatever holidays you are celebrating, that you enjoy them with friends and family and have a wonderful time over the festive season. In 2018, we've done a lot. We've had a big year. We've been pretty busy, and we've had a great year of productivity. Mostly what I'll be talking today about with my friend Richard, who's been pensively sitting by as we've been trying to solve a few technical issues. We're going to talk quite a bit about the CCR programs, which is one of the main thrusts of our release in the recent term. We just released the CCR2 program, and I'm going to come to that in a second when I bring Richard in for a talk. But in general, we've had a lot of great success this year, a lot of amazing GUE projects all around the world, a lot of success in Agati, and Mario and Kiko have been doing a great job running that project consistently. But really our projects all over the world are now being assembled for next year's presentation in the expedition report to go in tandem along with the GUE and Project Baseline annual reports, all three of which are available every year on the website. Should be first part of next year. Look for that as we close out the year financially and otherwise at the different efforts that we've got in place. Many of you would have also noticed the InDepth blog that GUE just released about a week ago. So we hope that you'll follow us there as a nice complement to Quest magazine. The InDepth blog will allow us to bring you more short content, multimedia content, various pieces and stories over time, and allow us a kind of dynamic atmosphere with multimedia flexibility. So we're excited about that development. We're also excited about the new dive center program that we're currently releasing and reaching out to a variety of dive centers in the area. And course-wise, we had a very busy year as well with new photogrammetry, Sidemount programs, scientific diver programs, and then of course the restructured CCR program that I want to talk to you about with Richard in a moment. We've had good success building the Rec 1 programs. The Rec 2 and 3 are right on the tail end. Both are nearly finished. I just saw a draft of both programs yesterday, and we're excited to see those coming out. And along with those programs, we really have a new ITC format that's been refined over the last year. Dorada spearheading that into a really nice formal and structured program with good support materials. But the CCR program is one of the newest that we haven't talked much about. We get a lot of questions about that program. Why did we change it? Why do we have 2 levels now? What's going on with our direction in that program and the prerequisites? We've gotten a lot of questions, so we decided to dedicate a good chunk of this broadcast today to bring Richard in and talk about that CCR program and the split and what we're doing there and what our long-term goals are with that program. And I think you'll agree when you get a chance to see the program and see many of the materials available that it's really a first level effort by Richard and Jesper and the team that supported that iteration and that development. And many of the things that came into play with that program are being rolled into other classes as well, and I want to talk to you about that as we close the broadcast. But for the moment, I want to take a second, just give me 2 more seconds, and let's bring Richard in and we'll chat with him about our new CCR structure for CCR 1 and 2. All right, well, welcome, Richard. Thanks very much for taking some time to speak to us today.
Thank you.
I want to start out this by publicly embarrassing you and thanking you for the thousands of hours you've spent really taking this project under your belt and focusing on the CCR program. I know because I see it many days, but most people don't know the amount of effort you put into this, either from researching or calculations or just raw effort on design and input. So kudos to you. Thanks very much. The agency is grateful, and as your friend, I'm grateful as well.
Yeah.
I wanted to continue from this. I wanted to contextualize a little bit our conversation, and then I'm going to let you do probably most of the talking, but you know me, I got to talk a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'd like, I think, to contextualize it because a lot of people don't remember very much of that history and assume that because GUE has always been pretty conservative with respect to integration of rebreathers in general, and in particular electronic rebreathers, you know, that we had some kind of issue with them as a general tool. Whereas I know you know that that is very different to the way we've really proceeded. I know that I started diving rebreathers in the mid-1990s, and we started doing very long-range cave dives. I know you did your first dives right around that, 95, 98, as the Inspiration was first coming out. And then heavily in the early 2000s with the RB80 transition, through that time we all kind of ramped up considerably. And I think most of us right around that cycle stopped using open circuit in deeper water actually. And then all the way up into late 2000-ish, 2008 I guess, when we asked the board at the time to start diving every rebreather they could find to test it out, and you kind of started to take the lead at that point and really kind of start building programs. Anything you want to add to that contextualization?
Yeah, it's been an amazing journey, right? And I mean, all of these thousands of hours being put into the program, it's just a pleasure. It's my way of paying back, you know, for all of the great things I got through GUE, all the adventure I had. And this is a small token of appreciation to give back to the community and to our students and instructors, of course. And I think a pivoting point for rebreathing technology came around, as you mentioned, 1990, in the middle of the 90s. I still remember the Britannic project. That's basically the last big project we did on open circuit in '99. From then onwards, it was rebreathers. I remember the prototypes of the Inspiration coming up to the market, you know, this kind of weird feeling you had when you used the units. You didn't know if you would survive it or not.
I remember that well.
Yeah, I mean, units that promised a lot, but sadly at that time they failed to deliver and so on. But then also over time, you know, using the RB80 to the max we could use that unit and so on. But at the same time, being conscious and aware of development going on in the industry. We have many friends outside the organization that started to use CCR technology with good success eventually also. So in, you know, around 2009, 2010, when we started to evaluate and test CCRs, we still didn't know if we would endorse them within GUE. It was just testing. And again, we feared that they would fail to deliver. But this time when we started to use these units, we actually saw that we didn't have to cancel dives, we didn't have to bail out. They were as sturdy as we made the systems be. So in 2011, we made the decision then to go ahead with CCR systems, and that's when we started to teach beta classes. So it's an interesting journey to that point.
For sure. And you know, as you're mentioning this, I'm thinking to myself all the sort of near misses in my past, and flooded rebreathers and caustic cocktails and failed dives. And you know, once we got through the initial few years, the semi-closed units really started to be rock solid, reliable. And every time I tested electronic units, they were not. And I know that you and I spoke and believed by this sort of mid to late 2000s, things were becoming relatively safe at that point. But we collectively, I think, agreed that the failed dive part would be the most annoying. You know, that every time you were in the middle of nowhere, you wouldn't be able to dive. And really, I think a number of innovators, but Shearwater, Bruce and Lynn and the Shearwater family essentially really helped change that tact and created really reliable electronic systems, allowing us to pivot. And of course, we still support both, so we still even develop and maintain a semi-closed unit. But of course, CCR has a number of flexible environments, and for a variety of reasons, people are still quite interested in that technology. And our CCR programs kind of mirrored our RB80 program, as you know, where we always required Tech 2 as the entry point. So here I want to kind of segue into the newest iterations of our program and the rationale. The CCR1 being the program that historically required Tech 2, which is currently what we require for the semi-closed RB80. You'd be Tech 2 qualified, so deep rated for those not familiar with the GUE program, but you're deep qualified, already experienced. Now you learn a CCR, and then you work your way back into deeper diving. That was the paradigm we've been using with the RB80 for a while. Recently now we've split that, so we have a CCR1 program that has a Tech 1 entry point, some experience, and then a CCR2 program that allows you to work deep. So can you explain a little bit the rationale of that split?
I think it's very important to understand how we create classes within GUE. We never start with, look at the industry, they have 1 or 2 or 3 classes in this curriculum. We always look at the end product, and that's being the diver. What capacity should this diver have, right? And when it comes to a CCR diver capable of diving down to 75, down to 100 meters, it takes quite a bit of knowledge to be able to do those dives and skills. And again, backwards engineering, we soon found out that having only one CCR level or rebriefer level class, it was very hard to jam in everything that you needed to know and develop and experience into one package. So that's the rationale behind splitting the classes up into 2 classes. When it comes to the prerequisites with having Tech 2 or Tech 1 as a prerequisite, that has never been a big focus point for me as a person. I truly believe that the CCR level 1 class can be undertaken by a Tech 1 student without any challenging factors or problems as it is. The CCR level 1 class is a user class and not the end user class, the beginning user class, where you learn about the rebriefer, how to manage it, how to dive it, about the positive things and negative things about the rebriefer, and the basic skill sets needed to dive it safely. But under recreational limits, because you need to start again, and you can't just take your open circuit experience. That was one of the problems with having Tech 2 as a prerequisite, is that we got very experienced open circuit divers coming straight into a user class, recreational user class. But obviously the reason why they came into the class was to go out there and explore. So very quickly they wanted to transition into becoming, experienced again and do this hard.
As deep or deeper, as long or longer.
Yeah, I mean longer and deeper. That's why you buy a rebriefer, right? So, and statistics shows that that's a problem, and we saw that. We didn't see it by looking at incidents and so on within GUE, but we saw the trend, and that's why we started to rethink these things. And that's why I actually do believe that the Tech 1 as a prerequisite for the user class is better than Tech 2.
And I think one aspect I'd like to highlight, and I know you tend to agree with this, is that the difference with SCR and CCR is that the SCR dives quite a lot like open circuit. So if you're an experienced Tech 2 person, deep experienced diver, then that transition is relatively smooth because the difference is minimal. But CCRs are quite a bit more complicated, and not necessarily in a bad way, but certainly in a way that requires you to build time and experience. And working on failures and complex problems while you're getting used to the complexity of the unit's operation is problematic. And I know you taught enough of those classes to see that.
I mean, CCR technology, it's a little bit like decompression. If you rush it, it will be in pain, right? But if you're smooth with it and cater for a smooth but efficient decompression, you will have a good time afterwards.
Indeed.
You just need to absorb. You need to give yourself time to be a beginner again and learn the system. You can't fast track it in any way or form. So I think in the end, if you give yourself that time and appreciate that you actually need to relearn, then the outcome might be successful for you.
Yeah, agreed. I'd like to actually focus on 2 points. One is that just because the minimum entry requirement for the CCR 1 program is Tech 1 doesn't really mean or discourage someone from going all the way through Tech 2 and building experience. So a GUE Tech 2 diver would still be heavily advantaged by taking that CCR1 class and learning the rebreather on a slower pace. The reason we've introduced the Tech 1 really is just to give people a smooth transition, because I think diving still on open circuit in the Tech 1 range is still pretty reasonable. I mean, if you're diving mostly in the 40 to 50 meter range, you can do that really comfortably on open circuit. But as you get 60 and 80 meter range, it still progressively makes less and less sense, really, to dive open circuit. So that transition was built for that purpose, not to really get more people into CCR1.
I mean, we live in a world where everyone is very keen to polarize and, you know, to support one platform over the other. So now we have like CCR, SCR, and open circuit. In the end of the day, it's just tools to go to the adventure, right? So if people want to progress in an open circuit in that kind of path, perfect. They can transition over at any time then, if they want to, or be happy to stay with open circuit also.
Let's talk a little bit about how that CCR program integrates into Tech 2. So I do my Tech 1, and then I do my CCR 1, and then I build my experience, and now I want to go deeper. What do I do from that point?
So historically, our signature class has been Tech 2 for the longest time. That's where we teach advanced dive planning skills, and that's where we teach bottle rotations and advanced decompression strategies and so on. It's one of our toughest classes, as you all are aware of. When it comes to the CCR2, that's exactly that, but while diving on a rebriefer. But we add to it. We add complex CCR failures, rebriefer scenarios, and so on. So the difference between the CCR level 1 class and the CCR level 2 class is huge.
Right.
It's like backtracking all the way back to a fundamentals class and then jumping all the way back to a Tech 2 class. That's the leap that you're taking. But you can do that, remember, because you are already, when you enter the level 1 class, you're already a Tech 1 diver. So you're an experienced Tech 1 diver when you enter the curriculum. And that's why when you have built suitable experience on the CCR, you can make that big leap up to CCR level 2.
Okay.
It will be one of the most interesting classes for us to teach and most challenging classes for a student undertaking.
In a good way.
In a good way.
So Tech 1, CCR 1, Tech 1 experience diving, CCR 1 experience diving, and then Tech 2 in my CCR is essentially the CCR 2 program. Of course, people could come into CCR 1 with already having Tech 2, so they'll affect the order a little bit that way.
It's interesting when you think about Tech 2 and CCR 2. A CCR 2 diver must always be able to become or be a Tech 2 diver, right?
Quickly.
Quickly. If the rebriefer would malfunction, then you're back to open circuit, and then you are actually, in fact, required to do exactly what an open circuit Tech 2 diver is doing.
Right. And we've talked about this endlessly, so I mean, I think people sometimes imagine it just kind of happens over a coffee, but we've spent a lot of time having that exact conversation, that really the difference between those programs is relatively minimal, because that CCR2 person has to be trained in all the bottle management, bottle rotation, open circuit ascents, open circuit through deco and backgas, so all of those components are the same, and I think it just allows people an efficient way to get into the kind of diving they're really directing towards. And less in the world do I see people doing a lot of aggressive, regular open circuit diving in the Tech 2 level.
Getting less common,
So we still leave people the option. We maintain our Tech 2 open circuit program, but now we have an option for people to move in via the CCR program. And now we also have a CCR cave endorsement. What is that about?
It's of course important to point out that both like Tech 1 and Tech 2, the CCR level 1 and CCR level 2 classes are open water classes designed to be taught in the ocean without overheads, while the K curriculum is where you learn overhead procedures, and hence the fact that the CCRs is excellent tool for cave diving. We need to be able to endorse people to be able to undertake those activities too. Many areas in the world, like Genie Springs and so on, they require an endorsement card for cave diving on a CCR.
And there are some differences, maybe not a ton of differences, but definitely some that really cause a few additional skills and value practice, similar to bottle rotation in the open water environment, which we don't really have in caves typically. But on the other side, with cave gas sharing, we have a different scenario. And as you mentioned, most importantly, a growing number of sites are asking specifically for that CCR cave, sort of forcing us to address that need. How many CCR instructors do we have?
Today we have 12, and during 2019, I think obviously we need to qualify level 2 instructors for CCR level 2 program also. But I think that the number of instructors for level 1 will grow up to maybe 15 during 2019. and the number of level 2 instructors will be much smaller. It's like that iceberg. That class is a different beast altogether, so we require the best we have.
Right.
So maybe by the end of 2015 we might have 5 very experienced instructors ready to teach the level 2 program.
Because now we not only need an experienced Tech 2, we need an experienced rebreather, diver diving in the Tech 2 or beyond range, doing complex failures with rebreathers involved.
Yeah.
Let's keep that conservative.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, our students deserves the best, and we will give them the explorers to teach them.
Good, good. Let's talk a little bit about the materials, because that's something that is just amazing. And I lauded praise on you at the beginning, and one of the many ways in which you deserve it is the materials for the program itself. I mean, a massive body of material that people are getting. I mean, really a crazy amount of a wide variety of material, everything from just the beautifully designed materials in PowerPoint, but also all the notes that are involved. The SOP document. Talk to us a little bit about what they're getting.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine how much work, not only me, I must say, we have a team, Jesper Kjoller and others within the organization, and also our instructors that are putting a lot of effort and time into the development of these projects. But it takes time. And I think for each level we have developed more than 15 per level, 15 unique training tools or documents or manuals. So that adds up to 30 different documents, and then we have shared documents on top of that, maybe 10 of them. So we have over this time developed 40 different resources for the CCR program, all to support the instructors but also to support the students. Some of these documents is 200 pages long. Beautiful.
Just looking through hundreds of pages across multiple documents, from SOP to assembly to just background reference materials.
I mean, GUE deserves it. We just turned 20. We're a mature organization. We are releasing, as being discussed previously, the most robust and substantial standard ever in GUE's history. And of course, we're very happy then to support that with a very comprehensive program also for CCR diving technology.
Okay, great stuff. We like it. And another interesting part to the program as we come to a close is the human factors integration.
Yeah.
So and that's especially relevant, I think, with rebreathers. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we've had great support by Garrett Lockton to introduce some of his core qualities and knowledge into our program. So we are actually the first organization that introduces human factors and the importance of those ones into our training programs. And Garrett has been very helpful and supportive in developing this chapter within the program. And I think it's all important, as everyone is aware, that the divers themselves needs to shoulder the responsibility and shoulder their own safety is paramount to themselves, and they need to see that importance and they need to be responsible for it. And I think the human factors chapters will actually assist that. They will understand and they will see when they look themselves in the mirror, they will understand that they are the biggest reason for an accident, not the rebriefer, it's themselves, right?
The human fallibility component, that even if everything is working properly, then we find a way to mess it up anyway.
Yeah, I mean, during this time we have developed fondness to the Dunning-Kruger theory, you don't know what you don't know.
Right, so let's try to learn what we don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks again, Richard. You've done a fabulous job. It's really exciting to talk to you, and I'm excited to see now the new release of the CCR2 program, which is a great expansion of the work already done on CCR1. And a huge asset to our many teams all over the world who are doing quite a wide range of projects. So thank you very much, my friend. It's been a great ride, and I'm looking forward to another 20 years.
Absolutely.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I'll try to do this without the Ghosts of Christmas Past yearly in the background. Maybe that was George and the Ghosts trying to cover up our rebreather conversation. Sorry about that, folks. I think the technology ghosts are really on top of us. We'll post a clean version at the end of this, so those of you interested, or maybe those that gave up, Hope some of you made it through. I saw a bit of traffic from the background, so it looks like a number of people had some good questions. Seeing a question about the CAVE endorsement, and that would be CAVE and then CCR1 prior to the CAVE endorsement. Also a question about the flow of the programs. I think if you didn't catch it, in the end it's not more programs, just restructured programs. So you're just taking a CCR1 and then CCR2 as part of Tech 2. So in that sense, it's integrated a little bit more smoothly for people in that process. So if you have other questions, just let us know. We'll be happy to answer those online or directly as well. We're always happy to entertain any questions or comments from anyone. So I wanted to mention another aspect that comes to play as we are considering the different programs and the different particulars. Please also note that our version 9 of the standards is in its final review by instructors and will be posted the first part of next year as well. So there'll be lots of details in those programs, a number of changes and enhanced course curriculum aspects. We also have the new website coming. I know that we talked about it on the last round and we were really pushing hard for November, but we'd rather have it right than out. And so we do have it in beta version. The instructors have been playing with it for the last several weeks. And over the holidays, we'll be wrapping up the last bits and pieces, and we plan to post that the first part of the year. So I hope you'll enjoy the new look and feel of the website, along with an expanded recreational section, a friendlier atmosphere, and a new modern design. That one was getting pretty tired for all of us, I think, to go along with the new InDepth Blog look and feel. And then we'll be rolling in additional functionality to that website in the latter part of the year. Probably about mid-year, we'll start to run in a number of factors like geolocation and a few other components. So look for those ahead. Also, hopefully coming out this year that's getting pushed into the beginning of next year is in the new fundamentals book, which is being simultaneously translated and laid out in 6 different languages. So it'll be great to have that out, and that is the bulk, really ultimately the delay. It's getting all the 6 languages coordinated and produced, but we'll have the new fundamentals book out soon. The CAVE book itself, we'll see a new CAVE book probably first or let's say second quarter next year. That is in layout at the moment. It's not as big a job in terms of translations, at least at the first go, but we see that coming up for the year, as well as a new set of Tech 2 materials. I mentioned the GUE PB and exploration reports, which will also be posted at the beginning of the year. And then in the CCR materials, we are working on following suit with a number of our programs, including the expanded tutorials and notes and workbooks. So that's something we're trying to wrap up and develop alongside a lot of the new restructuring for the programs themselves. The Rec 1, 2, and 3 will all be complete in the earliest part of next year. Rec 1 is complete, and Rec 2 and 3 are on their final gasps of release, and those with additional content and support materials as well. And then we'll be pivoting over to a wider range of online support tools, particularly looking at Dive GUE TV as the way to port over a lot of this sort of online tutorial work that we have in development. We've already got a good start on that with a number of different curriculums, some even released, but many more that are coming soon. A widely expanded propulsion, balance, buoyancy, and trim sections that we are already quite far along in that product. And a number of those kind of innovations that will work in both the recreational and fundamentals curriculum. And then we'll be working our way upward or outward, as you might see, into the various other programs that we're developing. Also next year, we're trying to make it easier for people to find and join the many GUE projects that are going on in our communities around the world. And so we'll be posting a new online calendar and registration system that will have our representatives develop the projects and post them onto that section of the website and allow people to sign up for the programs there. So look for that coming soon. You'll be able to quickly search calendars and review throughout. So that's about it. I wanted to keep this relatively short, and our technical difficulties dragged it out a little bit, but thanks for those of you that managed to stay with us. We're really trying to target that efficient time frame in about 30 minutes, and hopefully next time without the technical difficulties. It's been great speaking to you this time around. I hope many of you will also remember to put the GUE Conference on your calendar for next November. We'll be in Florida next year, and we hope to see you there in person with a different version of live. So without further ado, again, sincere good wishes for the rest of the year. Happy New Year to everyone everywhere in the world. I'll be one of the first to wish you a Happy New Year. Enjoy yourselves, get good diving in, and have a good time with family and friends. Take care, and thanks very much for your support and your interest.